Barrister Adams, let me come to you. If my memory serves me right, we had a discussion here about a fortnight ago about whether there is genocide in Nigeria. And at that point, if my memory serves me well, you were of the opinion that, well, there might be killings in Nigeria, but that there is no genocide. I hope I'm right on that. Now, the United States government, having redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, because that, according to them, there is killings of Christians, in fact, genocidal killings of Christians in Nigeria. Between then and now, how much has your position changed on this issue? Bearing in mind that, look, we have information that over 50,000 Christians have been murdered since 2009 by global watchdogs.
You see, I just want to make a correction. What I said that the last time I was here was that genocide does not need to happen to millions of people killed before you refer to it as genocide.
Okay.
I think I cited the Genocide Act, United Nations Genocide Act that says, that was in 1948.
Yeah, okay.
That said, if there's a systemic killing or murder or extermination of a group of persons, either based on ethnic, religious, or political affiliation, by a particular person, is genocide. In Yugoslavia, you saw what happened in Yugoslavia.
Okay.
In Rwanda, you saw what happened in Rwanda, where the Hutus and Tutsis were against each other, whatever. There were those who prepared those kind of, carnage and murder, because based on ethnic affiliations, you just come out. So I describe what is happening in Nigeria today as, genocide to a particular, people. Okay. But whether it is based on religious, whatever, or on ethnic, tribal, whatever, that is one question we need to answer now.
Okay.
Now look at it. I will quote something from a pastor. I listened to him quite recently, about 2 days ago. He said, help me understand your perspective. God is not a Christian. If God is a Christian, who answers the prayers of the Muslims? If Christianity is the only way, heaven will be empty. He went further to say, God is the Father and the creator of those who founded religion. God is not religion and does not belong to any religion. That is a pastor I listened to.
Okay.
He was making this assertion. That drew my attention. And I asked myself, I said, well, this is another visa or perspective to what this particular whatever is. I want to chronicle this, how it happened. Whatever we call Christian genocide or genocide of the minority, tribes in Nigeria today. Let me start with the Constitution first of all. Your 1999 Constitution has created room or maybe division that can, accentuate genocide. If, for instance, the name of Christ Jesus is never mentioned in your Constitution, but the name of Muhammad is mentioned. 2, if, for instance, the name of your faith, Christianity, is never mentioned in your Constitution, but the name Islam is mentioned in your Constitution. 3, if, for instance, you now found out that there is no canon law operating in Nigeria that will say that all Christians or those who are Christians, who take Christianity as their religion, should practice canon law when it suits and fits them. But you have Sharia. I don't know if you understand. Sharia is an Islamic code, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not, Sharia is an Islamic code. To the extent that your constitution says that the House of Assembly of the state that want to practice Sharia can even make laws that will guide how Sharia should be operated.
Okay, but
now you look at it now. Okay,
in all these things that you have mentioned about the Constitution, can you tell us how this spurs the killings of Christians or the killings of Nigerians?
This feeling of entitlement to power, the feeling of entitlement of religious superiority. That is the reason why you see in Kano State there's a group called his bar. It's an Islamic police. They implement, enforce, execute Sharia laws that say you cannot drink alcohol in a municipal, a city like Kano State. I am from the South. I'm a Christian. I drink alcohol, maybe a bottle or two a day, and I find myself in Kano. But for me to go buy it with my money, I have to go and hide and drink it. Because if I'm found with a bottle of alcohol on the street of Kano, the Hizbah will do what? Arrest me. If I also run a shop, because we don't forbid alcohol from where I come from. My religion does not say don't drink. Take in moderation. And I want to open a place in Kano or Kaduna or Sokoto to run a liquor shop. I've obtained my license and I want to operate it. The Hizbah will come and close it down and say you cannot do this. Is that not entitlement of religious superiority?
Okay, but
the Jason these are things
I understand your point.
Yeah.
I'd like for us to reduce this discussion,
yes,
to the point of genocide, killing.
That is what I'm saying.
So is it this people? Okay, these codes now.
Yes,
give a certain group of people an entitlement.
Energize them. Otherwise, why should Boko Haram say they want to Islamize Nigeria? If there's no foundation for them to do that, how can a Muslim get up from the north and say he wants to Islamize Nigeria? That he will form a group of bandits, terrorists, to come to a nation that is called secular states. I begin to say that he wants to Islamize Nigeria. ISWAP. That is their mission.
Okay.
If not because the constitution gives them the vent, zest and zeal for them to operate, they will not have such.
Right.
Have you seen Christians, taking up arms to say they want to Christianize Nigeria? These are questions we have to ask ourselves.
Let's get the view of someone who practices Islam. Mr. Ibrahim Momo, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation this morning. Now, do you think the issue of some religion or one religion thinking it is superior to another was or has been propelled by the kind of our constitution, or the constitution we practice? Is that the bane of our problem in this country? We don't hear such things of genocidal or anybody trying to take over Saudi Arabia. We don't. I mean, there are a few Christians living there, but we don't hear that. Oh, they're trying to impose themselves. Do you think our problem is this issue is constitutionally driven, and what can be done differently?
Okay. Good morning, and thank you very much for having me. The first point I'd like to make has to do with the fact that it appears that there is high level of disinformation, calculated, coordinated, disinformation at play in what you have heard, being said, including what you have heard right there in the studio. And it's not a statement of ignorance; it is calculated. The disinformation campaign is a calculated one. I don't agree that it is ignorance as in display, because when you hear educated people talk, sometimes it shows, intent.
Do you disagree? What is your position?
Let me make the point. Why do I say that? It's because when you ask the question around, is it a matter of religious superiority that the Constitution confers, and it's allowing, if you may, or enabling the criminality that is ongoing? The answer is in
want that to confuse now. Now, when you say, are we having a selective amnesia, or is it, we are the ones actually confusing ourselves on this table, or rather, Nigeria is a person or the country making all those things to come up the way it is. When I asked this question, I asked it in the sense that I think it was in Sokoto State that a particular girl was lynched. She was killed. She was set ablaze. And Niger State also, another thing like that happened just this year, 2025, on the notion of that they decided, or that the people that was killed, the girl that was killed, was because of a statement she made on the school group WhatsApp about the profits. And the lady that was killed in Niger State also was because of the way she disposed herself still. And all this borders on what? On going against the Sharia law. Like Barrister pointed out, if you're to get yourself somewhere in the north, in the core north, where we have the Sharia law also, it's a thing. And when the likes of Sheikh Ahmed Gumi was talking, he said something in Turkey. He said that Christians, especially those residing within the Middle Belton region of Nigeria, are trying their best to malign the move or the talk or permutation about Islamizing or making Nigeria to be an Islamic state. Isn't that point to the level of religious plurality being practiced by some people in a secular state?
There are two things you have said correctly. One, there are criminals, there are people, individuals who don't have the authority of the state, who have perpetrated crimes, including killings. That's the correct statement to make. Is that constitutionally enabled a criminal? Or that's one. Those criminals, were they empowered by the constitution to do what they have done? Also, in that same vein, are these the only religiously motivated criminal killings and other criminal conducts?
When you don't see those individuals in court and we don't see them in the prison, some people will still allude.
The journalists do not see them. That's what you're saying? Should I recount those incidents for you? How can the journalists not see them? It's not possible. It's not possible. That's on the issue of I agree that there are criminals who claim the use of religion, including the Muslim religion, the Christian religion, whatever religion they choose, to commit heinous crimes, including murder. These crimes are these crimes should be prosecuted for what they are. But to use it as a bait or as an excuse to want to, smear, malign Muslims and then Islamic religion, it doesn't make any sense to me. God a Muslim. Okay. I do not support those criminal conducts. Okay. My religion my religion and Nigerian constitution does not enable those criminal conducts.
So should we have a case? Now you've made that point, and I appreciate that too. So should Nigeria have a problem? Should we have a problem when the president of US said that he wants to come in to help take out the extremist jihadists that have ended up killing both Christians and Muslims in Nigeria? Should we have a problem with such? They didn't say they are coming in to kill Muslims. They said they are coming in to take out extremist jihadists operating freely on the soil of Nigeria. Should Nigeria have a problem with such team or such help coming to us?
One of the beauty about VOP TV, one of the beauty, with all due respect, why I'm always very willing and able to feature on the program, is the quality of its anchor. I say that not patronizingly. I say that because in the way you have asked your question, a lot of Nigerians don't think at that level. Should we have an issue? In the way you have asked, I'm just trying to recount your question before I respond. Should we have an issue with the US designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, on the basis of which it is willing, if it intends to or wants to come in to assist to take out these criminals, the jihadists, as we have extremist jihadists in the way we have used. So, should we have any issue with that? The answer is absolutely no. Yes, in international law, it will amount to an infringement of a country's sovereignty, for one state to want to, directly intervene in internal affairs of other states. That is, yes, international or yes. But is there a foundation, is there a basis for the statements? In fact, for me, I applauded and deplored Trump. I applauded him because his commentary, his statements on Truth Social about the criminality going on in Nigeria, even though he proposed it in a way that enables a single narrative, a false narrative, it mainstreams the challenges Nigeria has been facing. So I applauded it because what is the duty of government? What's the business of government? Essentially, it's about the protection of lives and security of life and property of the citizenry. That is the basic duty of government. Now, what people have now called, in my opinion, firstly, a Christian genocide, is to amplify the security challenges that Nigeria has been facing. And I applaud Trump for it. But to now make the false claim that it's a Christian genocide, and you see, when you allow a lie to slide for too long, it can be taken as fact, unchallenged, can be taken as fact. We know, we are Nigerians, we live in this country, even the bigots, those who are religious extremists from both the Muslim and the Christian faith, those bigots, those who are the bigots who take things to the extremes, also know that this is not religiously based, even though Christians know, Muslims know. Because the majority of the victims, the hotbed where this criminality is going on is Muslim-dominated areas. The majority of the victims are Muslims. But the religion is, for me, I think religion is not even the issue. The fact that government stands as scams and people, Nigerians, full-fledged Nigerians, citizens with rights, are being killed on a daily basis, and the government is aloof, is unable to act over the years. It's something that we should deplore. All Nigerians, all men of culture should deplore. What is the purpose of government if you cannot secure the life and property of the people? What is the purpose of government? But now we have a common security challenge, but people are now trying to mine it for some primordial sentimentalism, for some, Islamophobic or, primordial interest, or even pecuniary. Some of them are doing it for money purpose. It's what I find very disturbing. We have a common challenge. Let's work together to resolve it. Let's call out the government when they fail to protect our party. That is the challenge we are facing, and I think that's how I think we ought to work around it.
Thank you.
Well, let's bring it back to the studio now. Barrister Asim, yes. You want to, well, before we take your reaction to his statement, we have Mr. Ezeluche Esquire with us in the building. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much for the invite.
All right then.
I want to say, with due respect to my brother over there, the lecturer, that I stand by my own take. Okay. That the Constitution empowers these incursions that we have. People, whether they are criminals or whatever you call them, just for instance, is well known the reason why you have that. Two is this. Let me draw his attention to a particular issue that happened in Oyo State. 11 January of this year, because of the empowerment given to some of these people by the Constitution, the Supreme Council for Sharia proposed, the bringing Sharia to be a system of legislation in Oyo State. They were supposed to launch that particular, on the 11th of January 2025 this year. If not because the Constitution gave them that vent, do you think that they will have that temerity?
What specifically does the Constitution
Section 277,
Section
277, 275, even 262. You have all these sections there. If you go to 260, you see the creation of Sharia court of appeal. Now, if these people see this happen, then they believe that if the constitution can give such to a religious, group, they believe that they have that particular, powers for them to now run child over the rest of the other people of Christian faith, as case may be. I am not preaching that to say that what has happened is because they are going against, but the constitution gives them the power to do that. If the constitution, for instance, can mention 95 times the issue of Sharia, and there is no place, zero place in the constitution where the issue of canon law was not mentioned, how be it? Even President Buhari in 2014, when he was interviewed, you know what he said? People can still go back and fact check me. He said that the issue of Sharia has come to stay because the constitution gives the Muslims the powers to practice Sharia in Nigeria, and that God willing, that is what is going to happen until it is reversed by the constitution. That is Buhari, late Buhari, taking care of this. People have argued, like myself, to say that you cannot have, that section 277 that talks about Sharia creation TC, where you have section 10 of the 1999 constitution saying that Nigeria is a secular state, as the case may be. Otherwise, if not because the powers given to them by this constitution, why do you have the Hizbah in Sokoto, in Kaduna, in Kano, that will destroy truckloads of alcohol based on the fact that Islam or whatever forbid it in a state where you say it's a secular state? I was discussing one of my Muslim brothers. He said that under section 38, he has the right to the religion of his faith. That the same constitution grants him the right under section 38 to belong to the religion of his choice.
Barrister Adams.
You understand the point now? So it's something that bothers me.
All right, Barrister Adams.
And until this particular area is, maybe amended, it will continue to energize.
Okay, but
this Islamist.
I want to ask you a question. We understand all, that you have said about the constitution giving vent,
That's right.
some kind of push to
what energizing them.
I'll ask you now. Hizbah, people that implement Sharia and Hizbah, they don't do it under a war situation, right? Mm-hmm. Is there any part of the constitution that says that the government shouldn't fight terrorists, who, by the way, coincidentally happen to be Muslims?
There is no section 14 sub 2B is very clear. It is very clear by the wordings and couching of that particular section that says that security and welfare. It never said welfare and security. It mentioned security first. That is the reason why you are in government. So if you are a governor, local government chairman, president, if you are sworn in today, the main thing you have to do is to fight security first of all. Make sure there is security of lives and properties and jobs, etc. Then you now go to welfare. Now, if you abdicate any of the responsibility and you are extravagant, you are didimusan, and at the same time you are ambivalent about implementation and execution and providing security for lost Nigerians, then you have no basis to be there.
Okay,
because it means that you can be impeached based on that particular, derivation of
I'm trying to find a fine line.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find a fine line between the constitution pushing the jihadists because of the letters, like you said, 95 times it mentioned the Sharia.
That's right, you can cross-check it.
Okay, and you believe that alone, that is one of the factors that energizes them. So I'm trying to find a fine line between what the constitution has said and what the constitution also says about protection of lives and property of Nigerians. Let's bring in Barrister Eze Eluche into this conversation. Good morning once again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Barrister Eze Eluche is a lawyer as well as political affairs analyst. Now, this debate has raged, for like 10 days or more. Nigeria redesignated as country of particular concern, CPC, by the Trump administration on the basis of what? That, look, there's Christian genocide in Nigeria. A lot of people have weighed in. Barrister, First of all, do you agree with Trump that there is Christian genocide in Nigeria? Let me start. Let that be a talk point.
Well, thank you very much. For some of us, Nigeria, for patriotic Nigerians, Nigeria has been a country of particular concern for more than 10 years. Nigeria has been a country of particular concern to Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians, for more than 10 years. So that Trump is just declaring it as such on even only one aspect of life, which is religious freedoms. For us, Nigeria is a country of particular concern in the area of security, in the area of education, in the area of governance, generally. It has been a concern to us. So what Trump just did was to only address one area of it. And with regards to whether genocide is being, there's a Christian genocide ongoing, people think the word genocide it's not a word you bandy about. It's rooted in international law. The Genocide Convention and the Rome Statutes. Article 2 of the Genocide Convention and Article 6 of the Rome Statute clearly postulates that there are 5 actions that need happen. And when any of these 5 actions happen, any of them, and it is geared towards either the full or total destruction of the people, it's a genocide. But for our own sake, we will only be concerned with only 3 of these actions, which when any of them happens, there's a genocide in place. One is if there is killing of that people, targeted killings. Secondly, if they are made to suffer bodily or mental harm. And thirdly, if there are deliberate policies in place to dehumanize them. Now you ask yourself, are Christians being targeted, killed specifically in parts of Nigeria? Unequivocally, the answer is yes. Are Christians being made in some areas to suffer bodily and mental torture? The answer is yes. And mind you, the Genocide Convention is that any of this taking place.
Okay, you mean the Geneva Convention?
No, the Genocide Convention
of
1948 and the Rome Statute of 1998. So they are very, very clear. So technically speaking, there is Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. Now, but realistically speaking, do we see this genocide going on? When you see 300 people being buried in one day, killed by extremist Islamist jihadist terrorists who go for them and kill them and destroy their churches, and not only pursue the remnants away, but also take over that land. That is genocide. So the argument whether it's taking place or not taking place is foolish.
So we agree that killings are taking place, but the argument is that it shouldn't have the tag Christian.
Yes.
Because some Muslims are being killed. Mosques have been burnt down as well.
Yes.
So the fact that Muslims are being killed alongside some of these Christians.
Yes.
Should we remove the Christian,
thank you for that question. We concern ourselves with the issues at stake. Is there also maybe a shared genocide going on? Because mind you, these terrorists are mostly Sunni Muslims. That is the reality, which nobody's eating at. And they're always killing the Shias.
Okay.
That is one aspect of it. Another aspect of the killings also is that you also have extremist extremist Fulani jihadists killing indigenous Hausa settlers or Hausa indigents. So these things are several things are going on. Now, if somebody decides to say, okay, I am more concerned about the Christian genocide, what is wrong with that? If perhaps the Iranians were concerned about the Shia genocide, let them raise it up. But the question is there a Christian genocide going on? And there is no debate on that.
So now,
in fact, just yesterday, I saw I will not use harsh words on him, but he deserves the harshest words. The African Union chairperson, Yusuf, he went all the way to the United Nations and was talking nonsense about the Christian genocide going on in Nigeria, that there was no genocide. This is a character who, as chair of the AU, has not bothered to comment on the Darfur genocide, which has been on for more than 20 years. Has not bothered to talk about the issues going on in DRC Congo or in Tanzania, where a woman has just destroyed the opposition and named herself the president. He only talks when he feels his religion is at stake. So that is the kind of debate we're having. But as a reality, there is no debate. There is a Christian genocide going on. If over 50,000 Christians have been killed, and these are documented, it's not hearsay. When you hear 19,000 churches, they are known. The locations are known. it is preposterous when you have people like Adeboye of the RCCG suddenly saying he cannot make comments when even his own church has suffered it. But he was able to make comments when Jonathan was in office and talk about a slight increase in fuel price, or when you hear the idiocy in Adefarasi's comments when he says it's only a few people have been killed. Look, we have to call a spade because we are free here because your family has not been killed or mine has not been killed. But if they were killed, you wouldn't be here debating genocide or no genocide.
But
it's very annoying.
I was coming to that.
Yes.
Do we see a mix of politics in all of this?
Yes.
Because there's been this pushback, by the federal government.
Yes.
Tuggar went to the United States, appeared in Piers Morgan's show and said, look, there is no Christian genocide here.
Yes.
But curiously, we also have Christians in the South here who are vehemently defending that there is no Christian genocide.
Yes.
Even people whose churches, have been affected.
Yes.
Do we see a mix of politics, ethnic politics in all of these defenses? Is there anyone that you see?
During the Holocaust against the Jews in Germany, there were some Israelis, there were some Jews who worked with the Nazis for some kind of pecuniary benefits to even perpetrate the genocide or the Holocaust that was going on. So when you hear these characters who come out and say there's no genocide because maybe they want to have some largesse from government or whatever, Kenyamu said because he's a Christian and he was made a minister, then there's no genocide. What kind of crap is that? Or that the president's son distributed 1 million Bibles, so there's no genocide. For goodness sake, there are Bibles in hotel rooms, and we know what goes on in the hotel rooms. So the reality, we don't debate. I've just explained to you rationally what genocide means and what in reality we are experiencing in Nigeria. So with regards to what the foreign minister went to do in New York and his interview with Piers Morgan, it's expected. This is reactionary. The government will try and do all sorts. But we have a president, Bola Tinubu, who never bothered. When 50 are killed, 100 are killed, he travels abroad. His only visit to Yeletawa was when the Pope raised the issue in a homily. That's when Tinubu went. And what did he say when he went there? Try and make peace with your killers.
Now that you've said something about this whole permutation having a political backing, what does this portend for Nigerians, especially people that are within these axes where the killings are going on? The people of Kaduna State, the other day, we learned that a core pastor was kidnapped along 11 others, 4 were killed. In Benue State, they're still killing. In Plateau, we've not really heard much of the killing at this time, but we know that, something like that is still going on. What does this portend for Nigeria? And moving forward, with the way the tension is already high, Christians are defending themselves, Muslims are saying we are not doing any superiority part, even when we have the constitution more like empowering some people or emboldening them with their action and attitude. What does this portend moving forward for Nigeria?
Well, real Nigerians will not look at these political divides because if you are in Plateau, Nasarawa, Taraba, all those areas, or even part of Enugu State, you are being killed. So you only have to raise your voice, let the world know what's going on, and the world knows. Even the world is aware of these reactionary moves. They know how the Nigerian government operates. They know that money is going around. They know that they're paying lobbyists in millions of dollars to try to launder Nigerian image. But the reality is the reality. People are still being killed till tomorrow. And the Islamists, you see, when government does these things, the world is watching. Because when you go and you massacre an entire village, and that village, you now pack the people who are remaining, say they're going to be in IDP camps, and their killers are seen taking over their land, and you come out and say there's no genocide. If we decide to be dons in this country, the world is not stupid.
Now let's take a peek on the issue going on. You made mention of people being massacred and the people that killed them moving around.
Yes.
Nigeria decided to embrace the non-kinetic approach to make sure that terrorists would de-radicalize them, rehabilitate them, reintegrate them back into the society. The other day, Kaduna State also made a statement on how they are going to bring in free education and medical health care for them. There was also a talk about further embracing of these people that have killed people before, and they say they are not terrorists in quotes. Now, how do you think this will help to shape the idea and ideology of those whose family members were killed by these men, and then they are still seeing them moving freely, enjoying what them are not enjoying, the free education and free medical health care?
Thank you very much. I think Nigeria is, we present ourselves as a joke to the international community. This phrase, non-kinetic, is simply dense. We don't need it. We need actions. We need the outcomes. It's like when the government threw out the issue of palliatives or the issue of IMF conditionalities. Then everybody runs to the streets shouting conditionalities, without even knowing what it means. That is how every soldier now comes out, or every governor says non-kinetic. Ask them, what does it mean? Because what people want to see is the results. And when you have a government that embarks on this senile approach that they call de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration, come on, the fight against terrorism is not new, it's not novel. You don't reinvent the wheel. It's the same terrorists that Americans are fighting, that those who bombed, those who participated in the 911 are still detained till tomorrow. But Nigeria is now rehabilitating and reintegrating the terrorists who killed. And what do? When they come back, you house them, you equip them, you give them more money. They look fresher than our soldiers who are sacrificing their lives. And you expect these soldiers to go in and give their all? Or when the government now comes and says, okay, we're going to give you free education, free health services, this leads many of us to believe that these characters in government are in collaboration, or they collude, or they are complicit with genocide. Because you can't tell me that you are giving a killer of your own people, you are giving them free education for what? You are rewarding evil. So those characters in government, whether they are governors or whatsoever, who indulge in this kind of criminal behavior, I believe that at the appropriate time, when there is need to bring all these characters before an international tribunal, you will discover that under the same genocide convention, these characters qualify as people that should be tried.
No, I asked this question earlier to Comrade Ibrahim Momo. Let's get your opinion on this.
Yes.
Should we have a problem with US coming in to help us take out the extremist jihadists operating, killing people? Now we've said there is not only Christians that are being killed, Muslims too have been killed. Should we have a problem, with the United States coming in to say we want to help kill out or take out or exterminate this people?
Thank you very much. In international law, international affairs, that's what is called the responsibility to protect. Anybody, any country has a responsibility to protect somebody who is weaker, who cannot defend himself. Nigeria itself took part in such an R2P when Nigeria went into Sierra Leone and Liberia. Because no government invited us in Liberia and Sierra Leone. Nigeria went by itself. So the reality is this: if in their good thinking, the United States or any country, having seen that Nigerians are incapable of stopping this Christian genocide, they decide to exercise their rights or their duties under the responsibility to protect and come in, they are most welcome. I mean, if you are somebody who has lost his family in Nasarawa and you are at the verge of losing your life, and somebody says, I'm coming to help you, when your government has severally failed, there's absolutely nothing wrong in any country, whether the US or whoever, coming in willingly to try to help those who are suffering from Christian genocide.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.